In this lesson, we'll start to create the headlamps for the vehicle. Okay, so let's go ahead and it's kind of in our front view, start to build these headlamps. And so this is obviously the shape that we're going for with kind of a half sphere behind it. So I'm actually going to start with a sphere. And let's go ahead and drag this out to kind of about the radius of our headlamp. Say that's okay. And so let's go ahead now into our perspective. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this forward there so we can begin to work with it. We'll go into our modify panel now and start to change some of these settings. Now it depends on if you want to be able to smooth this or not. The number of segments. If you're going to be smoothing it, you want to dial your segments down quite a bit. Okay, so maybe something like that. And now what we want to do is kind of look and see. Let me dial this up just a little. I'm going to actually change these segments. I think 12 is good. So what we want to do is basically take a look at this and see what pieces of this do we want to have. So we want to have a front lens or a front cover, right? We want to have a back housing. Okay, so let's go ahead and instead of getting rid of any of this geometry, let's see what we can cut apart. So I'll convert this to an editable poly. Okay, let's go ahead and select some of these polygons. I'll select these, go ahead and detach those, and let's go ahead and just detach straight away. Okay, so we've got those now separated out. Now this, I'm going to go ahead and grab these vertices and just scale those up a bit. So we get a shape that is more like this. Okay, and this can be our outer housing there. Okay, now what we can do is add some thickness to this by just adding a shell modifier, and I want to give that an inner amount rather than an outer amount. So go ahead and choose 0 for outer, and then it'll increase the inner amount. So something more like that. Okay, go ahead and collapse that. Yes, and I'll convert that to editable poly. Okay, let's go ahead and make an edge selection here, and then we'll select the entire ring. And under Edit Edges, go ahead and connect and slide that up to somewhere right around there. Okay. Now I'm going to select these polygons basically all the way around. Okay, and over here as well. Deselect that guy in the middle there. So I've just got basically these guys. So I'm going to create kind of a ridge around there, or kind of a bezel. And to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick extrude by local normal, take that height down, way down to something more reasonable. Okay, and now with these edges selected, I'm going to go ahead and select that ring, go down to connect, and this time I'll do 2 segments with 0 slide, and I'll pinch those out so they're right on the edges. So when we actually smooth this, we should get something a little bit sharper. We'll do the same thing back here as well. So select the ring, go down to Edit Edges, Connect, this time 1, no pinch, slide that up. Alright, so now we've got an area for the outer part. We've got an inner area that we can add a kind of a reflective material to. And then we've also got this lens. Okay, and so what we can do is now move that back in. If we want to scale this up and have it penetrating into the side there, we can do that. Okay, so now when we smooth this out, okay, you'll get something like that. Okay, if you want to just go ahead and smooth it, for instance the lens itself, if you want to go ahead and smooth it, we could just add a mesh smooth to that right up here, and give it whatever output you want to give it. You could also do like a turbo smooth on that. Do something like that. Now in this case, I think we don't want it to be quite so bowed out. Okay, so you might want to go ahead and just scale this down a bit, so it's something a little bit more like that. And if you want to shape it some, you can do that too. For instance, if you want to kind of flatten it out, you could take that middle vertex there down and then grab these edges, do a ring selection, and use our familiar connect, and then just kind of scale that out and shape it a little bit more. Alright, so a couple different ways that we can do that. And you could take this whole thing, and obviously this is going to have kind of a transparent material on it, as opposed to the kind of whatever color the outer one has. Okay. Alright, so now let's go ahead and grab both of these. And now we can just start to place these around. So if you want to go into the front view, and let's go ahead and I'm just going to link this together. So right now if I select this, it's not selecting this front part. So I'm just going to go ahead and link this. So I'm going to choose select and link, go from the child over to the parent. And now when I select this guy and move him around, that lens will follow. Okay, we'll go ahead and shift, copy this over. Copy that. Put that into position. Now I'll control click on both of these, and let's move them back where they need to go. So they need to go kind of right in there, and you can go into your perspective and check that. Okay, so maybe a little bit farther forward. And it looks like our lens didn't quite follow. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate that again. There we go. And we'll see if that still follows. There we go. And so just grab these and pull them back into the to the right spot there. And it looks like our vents are out a little bit farther. So we might want to pull this over. And obviously the other one you can't really see what's going on because we haven't mirrored that over yet. But okay, and we can go ahead and just scale this down. And once you get one right, you can always mirror that over to the other side. All right. We also need one kind of right in here. Okay, go ahead and just grab both of these. Duplicate those over. Let's pull those forward, and you can see in the front where that goes. Okay, so it's going to go, see, right in there. This one's going to be a bit smaller. Okay, so we'll scale this down. And I won't show you all of them, but you can see how this kind of penetrates in there now. So if we move this back into the grill, so inset it into the grill. Okay. Alright, maybe now we kind of rotate this so that it matches up with the grill a little bit better. And even, let's go ahead and even pull it out just a little bit. If you look at the inside here, if you go ahead and select this this part right here, the lens, I can kind of get that selected. And let me go ahead and try to, there we go. Kind of deselect everything here. And I'll right click and I'll hide selection. You can see that there are a lot of these pieces that are penetrating in. So what we can do is select this, and we can go down to our polygon selection or element selection and start selecting some of these elements that are in the way and just delete those. And I want to go ahead and show that. So any of these elements that are inside there, you can go ahead and get rid of those. Okay. And we don't want to get rid of that whole back end, but so we'll grab some of these and pull the delete those. So you can see how these are all separate, which helps us in this case. What we also want to do is select that polygon in the back there. Undo that. We also want to go ahead and I'm going to turn the bend off for now. We can select those polygons behind there and start to delete those. Then we can grab these vertices for this, and then I'm talking about the back plane. And you might want to actually add a little bit of resolution in there first before you do that. Okay, so you could take this element here, this whole element, and under Edit Geometry, you just do a Mesh Smooth there. And now we have some extra polygons in here to be able to work with for us to delete. delete those, and then we can take some of these vertices for this low res one in the back and just move them out, because we're insetting this headlight into this area, so we need it not to penetrate. So any of these areas that are gaps, you just want to move it over. And this is sort of the same technique that we used for building like the door frame or the door handle and things like that, where we're just using this geometry to, in this case, create kind of a circular shape to get it kind of out of the way there. All right. Turn our bend back on. And now you can see that we're starting to get that all hollowed out. Okay, we can grab polygons beyond just having the elements selected. We can also select polygons there as well. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and clean this out. You also want to place one of your headlamps into this little socket here, and that's pretty straightforward. Just shove it in there from the front. You've got a hole set for it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out these headlamps just by deleting some of this interior geometry, and I'll copy another one and place it down there. In the next lesson, we're going to look at adding the actual kind of the logo or the emblem, and how we can actually bring in curves from a program like Illustrator or Photoshop to actually use as 3D geometry here in 3ds Max. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that in the next lesson.